Good morning and welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney. This is the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Brains, I'm up early, okay? It's 6 o'clock in the morning here in San Diego, California, and it's 10:30 in the morning in Newfoundland, Canada. I heard that that's a beautiful island right there. What is the northeastern part of Canada? Up near Niagara Falls, right?
Oh, it's much farther east. It's the most easterly point in North America.
Wow. And look, she's here with us. This is wonderful. This is Sheila Trask. And so let me tell you something about Sheila. She is awesome sauce brains, really. This is going to be a heavy conversation. She started her journey as a lifelong learner. She has many certifications in human development, management, crisis intervention, and suicide prevention. You know, people don't talk about suicide. It is a very dark place. It's a very scary place. But as a lifelong learner, Sheila has obtained these many certificates, and she does her work in Newfoundland, Canada. Brains, are you troubled? Are you considering suicide as a way out? Are you filled with mixed emotions? Do you understand that attitude and gratitude go hand in hand? Are you looking for answers? I'm sure glad that you came to the edge to meet my guests. Good morning, Sheila. How are you, Miss Trask?
Good morning, April.
So I have to say the last name Trask. Is that correct?
Trask.
Trask.
With a K.
Trask.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So tell us all about you, wonderful. While I have a sip of coffee and try to get ready for this conversation, because it's gonna touch a lot of people's heart. There's a lot of people out there hurting, but you're gonna raise it to a different frequency because you're gonna teach us about gratitude and latitude and attitude and all those things. Take it away.
Well, April, I understand people from various walks of life and the different things that people go through. I have a lot of empathy and I have a lot of understanding around suicide. As a teenager, I was very suicidal. And back when I was a teenager, you didn't tell people that. So I kind of lived in silence. And I never, ever had the conversation with my family. And I come from a very big family. I come from 10 children.
Wow.
I'm number 9. And my parents are deceased. And most of my family are up in age, in 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never been a conversation because, like I said, back when I was a teenager, people didn't talk about that. And people told you, get over it. If you said that you were depressed, or if you were crying, it was like, you're being a sook. What's wrong with you now? Those kinds of things. And I still hear people talk about that in today's society, but we have a much greater understanding that depression can be a very real thing. And I teach at a college here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and I have noticed, this is my 19th year at this college, and
Wow.
I've noticed that students have higher and higher rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. And 25% of the population has suicidal thoughts. That's a real statistic. And that holds true worldwide. But it doesn't mean that everyone acts on their thoughts.
Right.
Right?
Thank goodness.
So, yeah, thank goodness. But the suicide rate has steadily increased. And in 2006, I got trained to be a suicide intervention trainer, which means that I teach people how to intervene if someone they love or someone they see on the street, anywhere in life, that they could actually help them by intervening. and anyone can be a suicide intervention person.
Well, you know, what do you think is, it could be many causes. It could be abuse, it could be drugs, it could be mental illness, it could be a lack of feeling unwanted. There's a lot of things that cause that. But what are you seeing that in younger people these days? What is the
Well, you know, the thing is that a lot of young people may have suicidal thoughts, but they don't always act on them. Because one of the things that people don't realize, we tend to care about young people more, so we tend to talk about it more when we're talking about young people. Things are a lot more challenging for young people in today's society. It can be very overwhelming because we have the internet and we have so many choices. I mean, when, you know, go into a store and try to buy, say, an ice cream and they got 25, 30 flavors.
mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's like for someone who can't make a decision, that can be like very stressful for them. Versus, you know, when I was growing up, there was 3 flavors. And then the 4th flavor was a combination of the 3. So
Right.
Simpler. The highest rate of suicide is actually among middle-aged men.
Right.
Young people tend to, if they attempt, they're not always successful. And I think a lot of the reason is that most people who attempt suicide don't really want to die.
Right.
You know, they want help. And, you know, being suicidal or being depressed can come from a lot of things.
Right.
It can come from stress over a long period of time, or it can come from having even a physical illness that impacts your mental health.
Right.
It can come, suicide is about loss, to be honest with you. Suicide is about loss. So if you're vulnerable at all and you lose your job, that could be the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm. That could be the thing that may play on your mind and drive you to want to end the pain that you're in. Because that's what suicide is about. You know, some people, we never talked about it for years because there was a stigma attached to it. And the stigma comes from, you know, religion. Years ago, actually, I only found this out a few years ago, that one of the reasons that people never talked about suicide is that suicide brought shame on the family. And if you go back historically for hundreds of years, you find that, yeah, if you go back,
I mean, if you look at the Chinese culture, when you disgrace the family, you know, people commit suicide. And that is, it's not honorable, but it does, it reduces the shame that it brings to the family. And it is, it's very sad. I've known 4 or 5 people in my life that have committed suicide. And the most horrific ways, it seems like they're punishing themselves. One of my friends hung himself. Another one of my friends shot himself. Another person took an overdose of pills. Let me tell you, Brains, I say this with the deepest sincerity, but you let a sister break a fingernail, okay? And I am all out of myself. So to go into that place, that dark place where you feel that nobody's listening to you, you forget about your family. So many people say that suicide is so selfish, you know, but it is, at that point, it is about self. They're not thinking clearly about other options, you know, sometimes about their children. I had one guest on my show, the husband killed himself and his 2 children. So it's a lot. Sometimes there's a lot of preparation that goes into committing the suicide, you know, to the suicidal act. But know that there's hope, and know that there is strength, and know that there is gratitude, the gratitude attitude. Tell us how people can, you know, when they're struggling and they're in this dark place, where do you suggest that they turn to try to, you know, lift their attitude and raise their gratitude?
Well, when people make up their mind to die by suicide, often people, they won't let other people know, because you know, and then that's how they end up actually taking their life and no one being able to stop them. But if you suffer from mental health, depression, anxiety, or, you know, just you could be going through, I don't know, the empty nest syndrome. Maybe your children have gone away. You don't feel like you have a purpose in life. Gratitude can change all of that for you. The gratitude attitude is not just about being grateful. It's about changing your thinking so that the life that you have becomes far more meaningful, because what you end up doing is being able to see more of what's good in your life. So if someone is suicidal or having thoughts of suicide, I suggest that they take the time every day to sit and quiet their mind and think about what they're grateful for. So I developed a 3-step process, which is look, share, and recharge. And look is look around your life, look around the room. Like, you don't have to get overwhelmed. Every morning I sit down and I go, okay, what am I grateful for today? And I always begin with something that I'm grateful for about myself. Because at our core, we need to love ourselves.
Right.
If you suffer from depression or anything, you're not feeling good about yourself. So it's really important to always put yourself first, in the sense of, once you love yourself, then you are capable of loving other people and loving other things in life. So always go, number one, what do I love about myself? And as time goes on, you'll see that you're a really great person, because we're all really great people.
Right.
And then I write 4 other things that I'm grateful for, and it could be people. So this morning I wrote down, I'm grateful for April Mahoney.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. And then share. Share means, if I'm talking about a person, how can I share with that person my gratitude for them? So it's about giving back to other people, because when someone is suicidal or someone is even depressed, their thoughts are so internal and all about themselves. So when you can bring that out, volunteering really helps people get out of their own head. When you're helping other people, you are going to take the attention off of yourself. And if you're having negative thoughts, you really need to get that attention away from yourself. Right? And understand.
Right.
So I always write down, for instance, you know, if it's a thing or a person or whatever, what can I do? If I'm grateful for my beautiful garden, then when I write down share, I'm going to say, well, I need to make sure that I keep my grass mowed, and, you know, so that you're giving. If I'm grateful for my dog, then I need to make sure that I walk my dog, you know, anything like that. And then recharge is about you again, because recharge means, just like our cell phones, if we don't put them on charge, they die on us. We as human beings and as spiritual beings, we need to recharge ourselves. And that means we need to do something that makes us feel really good and feel alive. It doesn't have to take you hours to do it. It can be 30 minutes a day. Oftentimes my recharge is, I will take my dog for a walk around the block. That's good for me, and that's good for my dog. I love to read, so I'll sit and read for, you know, whatever it is that makes you feel good about yourself. It's different for everybody. Some people love to dance. Some people like to run. Whatever it is that gets your mojo going, that's what you need to do once a day.
Well, you know, once a day, I say more than that. And, you know, again, look around you. Also look at the sacrifices, I think, that people make for you, because that's a form of caring. You know, did mom make breakfast for me today? Did someone help me with my homework? You know, do I have a boyfriend or girlfriend that really cares about me? You know, is grandma easy to talk to? There's a lot of people that are really in your immediate circle. People say, I have no one. That's just kind of hard, because sometimes a total stranger is everything. And I see people on the street, they have an ugly frown on their face. I make it a point to extend them a smile. A smile is a sense of gratitude, that you can move all these muscles in your face to show somebody appreciation. You've done so much great work with that. But I mean, I'm looking at your resume and it's incredible. Let's talk about some of the people that you studied with. You studied with the great Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer. And let me tell you my story about Louise Hay. I go to this reflexologist, right? He goes, oh, you know, I can make you feel better. I can, you know, clear your space. You know, you're having a little problem with your legs, a little swelling. I'm sitting in this private home, plush chair. He's working on me. I'm talking to this woman. She's vibing. She's going deep and having this conversation on and on and on. We break the session. She leaves. He said, do you know who you were talking to? And I was like, no. He said, you were talking to the great Louise Hay. And I had no idea. And I came home and I Googled her and I said, you know what? I had a wealth of information, a resource. I could have brought her on the edge years ago. And she wasn't there. God bless her soul. But she was an amazing, amazing woman. Tell me some of the things that you learned from her teachings as well as the great Wayne Dyer.
Well, Louise Hay taught me that I needed to learn to love myself. And from Louise Hay, I became convinced, because when, I'm just going to backtrack for a second. When we're growing up, we're taught that not to be selfish. You know, you should put other people ahead of yourself. So when you become an adult and you look back on that, most of us realize that the way that we were being raised is we weren't really taught to love ourselves, because what we were taught to do was that we're supposed to love everyone else, do everything for everyone else.
Right, that makes sense.
About my mother, you know, my mother had 10 children. She fed my father, the 10 children, and she was the last person to sit down to eat. Now that's not self-love, right? That's called preservation. Love is, you know, you're giving love to your family by cooking for them. But we need to love ourselves, because only when we love ourselves can we truly have good relationships. If you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you, because what you're putting out there is not going to be good stuff.
Right.
And, you know, like, we attract to us what we are. So if you're not loving, if you're an angry person, you are going to attract into your life angry people. And I learned that from Louise Hay. When I took my students to Toronto to a Hay House conference, my 12-year-old son, he's 21 now, but he was 12, I think, at the time. And he wanted to come to Toronto with me really bad. And I remember him coming in the room, lying on the bed and going, I was listening to Louise Hay, and he was going, Mom, I really want to hear her. Like, please let me go. So I ended up taking him. And his birthday he had his birthday while we were there. The amazing part was the keynote speaker was Dr. Wayne Dyer, and that was the first time I heard him speak. And Dr. Wayne Dyer, my son was born on his birthday.
Oh,
and
wow.
I realized it at the time. Anyway, Dr. Wayne Dyer came to Newfoundland, and I went to see him, and it was a few months before he passed. And I had read basically everything that he had written. And that's how I learned to become a very spiritual being. And from Dr. Wayne Dyer, when I left, the last time I heard him speak, I remember saying to the person I was with, I have to find a new mentor now. And he said, why? And I said, well, because everything that I had to learn from Dr. Wayne Dyer, I feel like I now have learned, and it's time for me to raise myself up and move forward. Anyway, I didn't realize at the time that was the last time I was going to hear Dr. Wayne Dyer anyway.
Mm.
But the day he passed, I had thought to myself, oh my God, his time on earth was up. And the only way he could help other people was by transitioning into the next world, if you want to call it that way. Because when he passed, there were people who did not know who he was, who
Right.
said, who's Wayne Dyer? I had several people ask me, and I remember I was in the chiropractor's office waiting, and he came in, and I had just read on Facebook that Dr. Wayne Dyer had passed.
Mm.
And I was crying. And so the doctor comes in, and he goes, oh my God, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I said, Dr. Wayne Dyer died. And he goes, who's that?
Mm.
I didn't know whether to cry harder or...
Right. It's like, what planet are you on?
Yeah, but then...
I work over at KPBS, public
Honey?
television. I work over at KPBS.
Mhm.
Do some volunteering work and a part of a great team over there. And he used to have the greatest series, and he spoke so softly. It seemed like as he walked across the floor and explained things theoretically, philosophically, holistically, you know, from the food that you intake in your body to the way that you process things in your mind, his message will never die. People, go back and get a copy of his books and Louise Hay's books. They are transformational, really. You know, you hear that big $25 word all the time, but these people really go deep and they care. And just their mannerisms will transcend you, you know, and the way that they put their words together, it is so powerful. So you've had great teachers. You are a great teacher, but you also were a midwifery. You help people give birth and baby.
Oh, no, I didn't actually. I worked at a university.
Oh, okay.
And the department I worked in was the midwifery department.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
I was like, you're
people
doing the
there.
most.
Oh, no. I am into mental health care. I could never be a physical health care provider because that's just not my vibe.
Yeah, I know. You know, it can be a bit intense. So
Yeah.
you're an author, that's for sure. And so you have written, again, this great book, and thank you so much for my copy, and thank for the extra copies. Brains, go to my website down at the bottom. You know what to do. Hit like, love, or wow, and enter to win the Gratitude Attitude Life Lessons from the Field. Tell us what's in the pages of this great book and what inspired you to write it.
Okay, well, the book came from an assignment I did in the classroom with my students back in 2013, I think it was. I teach a variety of courses, and I always look for different ways to help people learn and think and you know, do what it is they have to learn. So practicality was important to me. So it was a leadership course I was teaching, and I got my students to find a quote that spoke to them, that they could relate to their own life. And they had to present that to the class and then get the class involved in a discussion about the quote. Then each student had to go home and they had to write about that quote, what it meant to them, about any comments about the discussion in the class that day. And we did this once a week for 2 hours. At the end of the semester, the students passed in their journals to me. And when I read them, I'm a very visual person. When I think and I come up with an idea, I envision the entire thing in my head. And I envisioned in my head a book.
Mm.
So I went back to class the next day, and when I handed out the journals, I said, I have to tell you something. When I read your journals, I was shocked. I laughed, I cried, and I envisioned a book in my head. And I would really like to write a book based on the work that you did in the classroom. So I said to the students, if you want me to include your work in my book, give me back your journals after you look and read all the comments that I wrote for you. And every single student did. So I started writing the book, and that was in 2013. And it was 2015 when I ended up changing the title from Wildflowers, which is what I had originally called the book, changed it to The Gratitude Attitude. And the reason being was that I was at a Proctor Gallagher event called The Matrix with Bob Proctor, and we were in these groups talking about our goals. And someone said, well, what's your goal? And I said, well, my goal is to take this book that I've been working on, to finish it and get it published. And they said, what's it called? And I said, Wildflowers. And they said, well, right off the bat, you have to change the name. And I said, why? Wildflowers, that's my students. I call them wildflowers because they grow despite harsh environments. And they said, but nobody's going to know that. And I said, okay. So anyway, they told me my goal had to be bigger. So I went back to my room, my hotel room, and I meditated the next morning. And while I was meditating, I came up with an entire series called Life Lessons from the Field.
Wow.
The Gratitude Attitude ended up being the first book. I did not come up with the title of the book until I came back home and started researching. And then it dawned on me, oh my God, sure, it was the gratitude part of the whole assignment that caused the students to change. I mean, they loved coming to that class because it was exciting and they, you know, they were giving of themselves and they were learning. So that's why I ended up changing it to the Gratitude Attitude.
Well, that's powerful because, you know, I am a person, and this is one of my pet peeves. I have a problem with ungrateful people. I really do. I don't want you to grovel. I don't want you to beg, but I damn sure want you to say thank you. And I want you to be appreciative when I extend myself to you. You know, you see people that say, well, I didn't ask you to do that. Really? No, but what I did was I cared about you enough to do it. Say thank you. You know, what happened to the note of appreciation? It used to be, my mother was, if you gave us a gift before you could spend the money or you could open the gift, you needed to acknowledge the person with a thank you note. It's a part of discipline. Gratitude is so many other things. It's an appreciation for someone calling you and caring about you when you're sick, or giving you a glass of water, or loaning you $20, you know, and they know you need it and don't ask for it back. There's a lot of things that you can do to show gratitude. That's showing class, that's showing grace, that's showing strength, and it's not being selfish. You know, to say thank you does it. All you have to do is flap your tongue. And so I want people to think about that. The next time somebody does something for you, when they go out of the way, the smallest little thing, say thank you. And when you have a sense of gratitude, you have no idea how that elevates your attitude to a different latitude. Gratitude is amazing. It's a place of abundance. It's a place of spiritual awakening, just to feel good about what someone else has done for you. It's over the moon. So, Sheila, you are just wonderful. And people really need to be grateful for you because you sacrificed a lot. You've been through a lot growing up, you know, being one of 10, you know, the pecking order alone is enough, you know, and then being a mother, being an educator, being an author, you've done so much. And I thank you so much for being here on the edge with me and my brains. Can you tell us how to get a copy of your book and how to, you know, get in contact with you up in the the eastern part of the planet?
Yeah, people can get in contact with me. My website is Sheila at SheilaTrask.com is my email. My website is just my name, www.SheilaTrask.com. And yeah, I love to hear from people. And I also teach, I take this book and I teach a program from it. And I do it live because I enjoy doing live programs with people. I like the energy that you get from other people. So if anyone is interested in doing a 12-week program with me, with a group of people, and I do it on Zoom, I can help you change your perspective on life
Mm,
and get a gratitude attitude so that your life becomes far more enjoyable. Because, you know, being grateful is not just being grateful for the life we have. If you want to bring things into your life, you have to be open to being grateful for what you have.
right.
Because it's our faith that allows us to be open to receiving things in life. And gratitude has to go hand in hand with faith, because gratitude is what sort of opens up your little portal to get all that good that's out there to come into your life. But gratitude really changed my life. Writing this book completely changed me. It doesn't happen overnight, but it changed my life. I changed everything that was happening in my life. I got rid of everything that was not serving me well. I learned to forgive people who had hurt me. I learned to be open to loving myself, loving my life, and making life better for me, my son, and everyone else around me. And I am so grateful that I was given the gift of writing, because I love writing. It's a passion that I have, and that's, you know, gives me an opportunity to share with the world everything that I've learned in life.
Well, you do a fantastic job, and this is a great book. Again, brains, go in, like, love, or wow, and enter to win the Gratitude Attitude, Life Lessons from the Field of Newfoundland, Canada. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with me and my brains. Brains, go back and listen to other edgy conversations. We've got great guests that have been on the show. Help me raise those numbers. You know, I just started uploading all these great videos from this International Women's Series on my YouTube channel, and I want you to connect with the visual. Seeing people is a lot different than hearing people, and I want you to be grateful for everything, for the air that you breathe, because I love you, Sheila loves you, and we're going to give you some tools. And also at the bottom of this, I'm going to provide the number, the hotline for suicide prevention. Reach out, touch someone, tell someone. Don't reach for drugs and alcohol. Reach for clarity, prosperity, love, and gratitude. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Sheila. And you be sure to come back and check in on us and make sure that we're doing everything and that we're grateful, okay?
Okay, thank you very
Bye.
much.
All right. Bye, brains. Have an amazing day.